The 19th law of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of timing. And the law of timing says when to lead is as important as what to do and where to go. Now, I've already shared with you that of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, there are two laws that are tough to teach. There are two laws that are tough to learn. One was the law of intuition. This one, the law of timing, is the second difficult law to learn. The law of timing, the law of intuition, again, migrate to what we call natural leaders. They're the ones who have those leadership leanings that basically allows them to intuitively feel the subjective side, the artistic side of leadership, that just kind of allow them to kind of sense their way through. And the law of timing is so essential to a leader's success. That's like one of the great songs, one of the great songs. You got to know when to hold them. Got to know when to fold them. I love the classics, don't you? Huh? Don't you love the classics? You got to know when to walk away. I think Sir Kenny Rogers did that one. And he was basically saying that there is a sense of timing, there's a sense of intuitiveness that's going to determine your success or your failure. And I want to emphasize that in this law of timing. Many people have been successful in their leadership because they understood the law. Many people have been unsuccessful because they violated the law of timing. In your notes, let me share with you how this law of timing works. The wrong action at the wrong time equals disaster. We've seen that. Very simple. A leader makes a wrong decision, wrong time, timing's wrong, decision's wrong, disaster. You got a titanic issue on your lap. Now, the wrong action at the right time equals a mistake. Now you can see that already it's better. It's still not good, but if the timing was right, even though the action was wrong, it's not as disastrous. Now, the right action at the wrong time equals resistance. People are resistant. Even if it's the right thing to do, if your timing is wrong, you'll find that they're not accepting. You'll find that they're resisting you. Does that make sense? Finally, and this is where you all want to land because this is basically the law of timing. The law of timing is number 4. The right action at the right time equals success. And a classic example in history, in presidential history, of the law of timing is Jimmy Carter. When Jimmy Carter became president, he became president because the country was tired of Washington insiders. Think about it. Watergate, Nixon, Gerald Ford, who pardoned him. Basically, America was saying, we're tired of the Washington insiders. We need somebody that doesn't live in Washington, doesn't go to Washington. And here came Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer from Georgia. Remember, he had his coat over his shoulder and, "Hi, my name is Jimmy Carter." And we just kind of looked at him and we said, he's the guy I'm going to vote for. Because he doesn't go to Washington. He doesn't look like Washington. He doesn't talk like Washington. We need Jimmy Carter in there. And he literally was elected president because of the law of timing. America was tired of Washington insiders. Now, he was president for 4 years. And during that time, it was not a good time. Interest rates got to 20%. Remember the hostages? Oh, the hostages. Iran took our people hostage, and we didn't get them out. And when we tried to get them out, our helicopters crashed, and it just seemed like we were just bungling everything. Now, things were not going good. Do you remember Ronald Reagan? He had this wonderful, charismatic smile, and all of a sudden we thought, boy, we need somebody that's a little happy, because Jimmy Carter was saying perhaps the best days in America are behind us. We needed a happy boy. We got Ronald. Literally, when Ronald Reagan was being sworn in as President of the United States, at the moment of his being sworn in, the hostages were being released. It's all the law of timing. And leaders that are successful leaders, They understand the law of timing. They understand when there's a time for action, hey, and there's a time for them to be patient. There's a time to move forward. There's a time to stop. There's a time for thinking. There's a time for talking. They understand this whole law of timing. In Jimmy Carter's situation, timing was a double-edged sword. It took him into office. It took him out of office. What I have found is the best leaders understand the double-edgedness of the sword, but they understand how to use it for the benefit of their organization. Because timing requires the following 7 things. Number 1, understanding. You have to be able to see the big picture. Number 2 is maturity. Very seldom are immature people good with timing. It's their immaturity that causes them to want to rush things. 3 is confidence. I have found that, especially when you have to hold them, that you have to have confidence. You have to believe in yourself. Number 4 is decisiveness, the ability to make decisions quickly, because here's what I found about timing. Timing doesn't wait. Timing doesn't say, it's a good time, I'll wait a while. No, it's in and it's out. Number 5 is experience. And the more successful experience you have under your belt, the better your timing is. And number 6 is intuitiveness. And intuitiveness and timing are first cousins. They always work together. And number 7 is preparation. There's a lot to say about how preparation helps us with the law of timing. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, I will prepare and someday my time will come. He understood the value of opportunity. I just did a conference called Reality Leadership. And in Reality Leadership, I talked about the 4 toughest realities that leaders face. And one of those 4 realities is producing positive change within an organization. And we used a case study in that lecture. And the young man who was in the case study spoke about the fact that several things had happened in his organization, and he was getting ready to relocate his company. And finally said, I knew it was time to lay it on the line. In other words, I knew it was time to ask for the big decision, the big vote. I knew it was time for us to make the big move. And what I'd like to do in closing this law with you is I would like to give you some indicators of how do you know in the area of timing when it is the appropriate time to make the big decision. How do I know when as a leader I lay it on the line and say, hey, okay, gang, let's go forward? Number 1, after you have defined reality. Don't lay anything on the line. Don't ask for any decision in the area of timing until you've defined reality, until you really can say, this is what I know is true about our company and true about our organization. After you have defined reality, that's when you lay it on the line. Number 2, after you have identified the issues. In other words, after you've not only seen what reality is, but you identified every one of the issues that are going to need to be hurdles that you can overcome before you can make the big change or the final decision. Number 3, after you have met with the influencers. Remember, we've illustrated in other laws that you've got to meet with your influencers, you've got to meet with your inner circle, you've got to meet with your key players and have the meeting before the meeting. So after you have met with your influencers, that's when you can make the big decision, because timing then will be appropriate. Number 4, after you've received buy-in from them. Just like the buy-in that says, the law of buy-in that says people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision, you've got to have buy-in from your influencers again before you can make the big decision and make the big change. Number 5, after you've communicated the vision. You only lay it on the line. You only understand the timing of an important decision after you've communicated vision. And number 6, after you've modeled the behavior that you desire in others. You've got to model that behavior because people do what people see. So after you've modeled the behavior that you want to see in others, that's when you begin to lay it on the line. And number 7, after you have overcome each one of those issues. You've not only identified the issues, but you've overcome those issues. And now, all of a sudden, you're becoming successful, and you can point to your success and say, look how well we're achieving. Now, after you do those 7 things, then you lay it on the line. Then you make the decision. It's a timing issue. And again, great decision makers understand that the timing of the decision is as important as the decision itself. Remember this. The right decision done at the right time equals success. That's what the law of timing is all about. Knowing how to maximize your profits and knowing when to cut your losses. You can't hang on to your losses too long. That's the law of timing.